Hello, this is Dr. Carola Fortner, and I am giving you an overview over our last week here. Week 6 is dedicated to disability and the clinical applications of diversity. So here we look at our little overview. Let's take a peek, and what we have here in the overview are our goals and competencies, and we have our chapter 11 about disability and multi-counseling competence. So what you see here are some videos worth watching, and then we go to chapter 11, to the PowerPoint. And as we're looking at this PowerPoint, you see that the overview here shows us even every individual faces limitations on their abilities from time to time. I experienced that the last couple of years. I went through cancer treatment, and I had lots of disabling conditions for the time being, so I really got to walk in those shoes. Fortunately, I'm over that and I'm all recovered and cancer-free, but it gave me a little inside view of what it is like to live with a disability, even though a temporary one. So we are faced with what is called ableism, which is a manifestation of oppression against individuals with physical, mental, or developmental abilities. And these disabilities are often seen as absolute, although there is a big sort of range of disabling conditions. So you can find some more information here on this. Then for chapter 12, which is multi-counseling competence, we have some review of basically what we've learned this entire course, and that is the importance of multicultural counseling. And that is your ability, your competence is your ability to work effectively and sensitively with people from various cultural contexts. And these competencies are practices that enable you to work with people of different cultural worldviews and in the context of the person receiving services, and honoring and respecting these worldviews and building a bridge so that you can have a meaningful counseling relationship. So that is a quick view at the chapter 12 PowerPoints. What you will have here as a discussion this week is that imagine you're a counselor who has been assigned to work with a family from a different country. Okay, so upon meeting with this family, you notice several things that are not normal and that differ from what you have been taught are healthy practices. So how do you proceed with treatment? I can, for example, think about cupping. You know, that in the some of the Asian cultures, it's, you know, if you're sick, people do this cupping where they heat up like a glass cup and they put it on the body. And so let's say, you know, a teacher might see a child with these marks from the cupping, and would they think there's abuse going on? So what do you need to be paying attention to, etc.? So here's a bunch of questions. And so considering everything you have learned throughout the course, you are supposed to explain how you would answer the aforementioned questions, and would your answers have been different before beginning this course? So that's an interesting discussion. Remember, we have to have at least 450 words and 4 more answers or interactions with others to get the full points. So then you have the quiz this week, which is again 15 questions. And our final assignment is going to be one of the case studies that you can find in chapter 12. Okay, so we have Betty Cadeau, a Native American child. We have Susie Dean, a Vietnamese American teenager. We have Rafael Garcia, a Puerto Rican elder. And we have David Washington, an African American man. And we have the case of Esteban. So these are the cases. So you only pick one of these cases, and you read the case study and you answer the questions which are asked within the case discussion. Now I want to point out to you something that I always would recommend in all of these classes, and that is that you take a look at the rubric, because I find that the description of the assignment doesn't necessarily make that as clear as the rubric does. So here it tells you what to do, and what I want to point out to you, that it actually asks you to include research findings, and it gives points in 2 different areas for utilization of research. And then you, of course, want to make sure that you also follow APA style. So that's that. You find interesting information in the book. I found that in page 280 is sort of like a central component of the disability experience. I thought that was really helpful. And one of the things, like when you read about attitudinal barriers, what you want to take a look here is that it talks about attitudinal barriers, and that is, for example, we overvalue rational intellect. And I've experienced that in a case with a young woman that I did art therapy with, who had been diagnosed with trisomy 21. And that woman has done art therapy, and she was the most spiritual person, and I learned a lot from her. So that's something to consider. Okay, so much for our different information here for this last week. I wish you very good luck, and it was a pleasure to have you in class. And we'll see you. And as always, feel free to send me emails or notices for any information that you need.